Welcome to Green Dot Daily. We're live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. By the way, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm Maria Marino, and today on the show, baseball picks from Sean Zerillo. Plus, does Brian Fonseca believe the Celtics can be the next NBA champs? But we start with the defending champs, Nikola Jokic, looking every bit the MVP of the league last night, as the Nuggets have now won 3 straight over the T-Wolves by a combined 50 points, with the Joker averaging 33 points, 9 rebounds, and nearly 10 assists in that span. After going down 2-0 in this series, the Nuggets were long shots to win the rest of the way. Now, they're not only favored to beat Minnesota, but to win the West.
He's gonna go on and on and on about the rest. Now everybody's on back-to-back.
How dare you put words in his mouth?
They celebrated like they won a championship. I gotta find some type of way to fade them.
LA nightlife is undefeated.
Call me a hater if you want. Blech.
Yeah, these guys are too soft, man. I keep saying it.
That's why it's true, because it makes me look smart.
It's time for more money with Matt Moore and Jay Money. Okay, Matt, to put it bluntly, are we all stupid for doubting the Nuggets?
No! Look, the Wolves have won 6 straight playoff games. They had them on their heels. The Nuggets slunk out of game 2. Most of them didn't talk to media. They looked broken. You should not have, quote, faith in teams until they show you consistently they can beat those conditions. The Nuggets rolled to a title last year, and yeah, they came back from down 3-1 twice in the bubble, but that was 4 years ago with a totally different squad. It was reasonable to doubt that Denver had kind of met its match, especially with Jamal Murray's injury, but the 3 days off gave him an advantage, and Jokic finally showed up and started dominating the series, especially in the last 2 games. The Nuggets deserve all the credit in the world for how they turned the series around, but you can't sit here and be like, how could everyone be so stupid as to doubt the team that was in a position where most teams don't win? Like, that's what happened.
Right.
And it's credit to them, but I don't think it's any reason for people to feel stupid. The next time, though, yeah, the next time they have a little bit more faith in the Nuggets.
To be fair, this is a weird series. I think I'm as stunned that the Nuggets have won 3 in a row and looked amazing as I am that they lost 2 to start the series on their home floor. So I guess we'll see what happens. Now, in the East, the Knicks also took a 3-2 lead on the Pacers. Jay, does it make sense to zigzag how you bet this series, just with it being more back and forth?
Yeah, I think more than a zigzag, it's been the home teams that's really taken advantage of their home crowd and the energy as well. We saw Knicks go up 2-0 like they were supposed to win both games in Madison Square Garden. Then the Pacers won both of their games in Indiana as well. So I think these teams has done exactly what they were supposed to do. I've kind of been seeing like a game 7 coming this whole series. So I do think that we see a game 7 in the Madison Square Garden. The Pacers have shown that they're the much deeper team. Obviously the Knicks have 4 main injuries to their guys over there. So their bench is really thin. So I think that the Pacers can steal game 6, and then we'll see what happens for all the marbles in game 7 in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I think Jay's right here on the home crowd being so important, because that's so much of why the Knicks are winning. Like, what's really funny about this, I was thinking about this for a column I'm writing for Action Network you can find in the app, is if the Cavaliers just hadn't tanked the last game of their season because they thought the Knicks were going to lose and all the brackets go differently, like this magical Knicks run probably doesn't happen. Like, it just doesn't happen probably this way. The Knicks have fed so much off of that crowd because they are so banged up. Like, they are legitimately just so injured. And it's a credit to the crowd that they have boosted them. But you can tell that the Knicks play so much better when they have the wind at their backs. The Pacers, on the other hand, don't have the makeup of a team that can, I think, go on the road and get this done. However, I will kind of note this. The trends are not necessarily favorable here for Indiana in game 6. Eastern Conference. So I split this into Eastern Conference because, well, let's be real. The East has been worse than the West for like decades. Eastern Conference home favorites down 3-2 at home, 19-40 against the spread, 32%. And just 14-18, 44% straight up after losing game 5. The other thing I would say is, look, if you want to bet the Pacers, just bet the Celtics, because that means that the series is going 7. Teams that go 7 almost never win the next round for a number of reasons. They're going to be exhausted. The Knicks are already beat up. The Pacers are not really in the Celtics category. It's hard to find Celtics value. I'm writing about that right now for Action Network, but that really is the kind of answer here. Is like, if you think the Pacers are going to take game 6, find a way, any sort of angle, Eastern Conference MVP, something, just bet Celtics.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I do wonder how the Pacers respond. Ultimately, I agree with what both of you guys expect, but backs against the wall, it's just kind of like a different situation for this young team. And then, you mentioned the Celtics. Obviously, they're looking to close out the Cavaliers tonight. So yeah, I'm with you there. Now the Mavs and Thunder looking for the tiebreak in that series. Jay, can the Mavs win if Luka isn't Luka? As in, if Luka is not playing, I don't know if you want to say full strength, but to a MVP type level.
Yeah, he's definitely banged up out there. Like you can really tell Luka's just not himself. He has a bum knee, he has an injured ankle, all that stuff, man. But they'll need Kyrie Irving to wake up, though, in my opinion, because it's not like they don't have multiple superstars on his team. I don't think that they just need Luka. I think Kyrie is kind of like the bat, whether he's Batman or Robin, either one of these guys can totally take over the game. And they've kind of been doing that so far in the playoffs. Luka will start out hot in the first half, and then they'll let Kyrie kind of close the game. But Kyrie has yet to have like one of those games where he goes for 30, 35 points. That's what I think they need to kind of take some of the load off of Luka over there. And obviously they need the role players to step up as well. They need PJ Washington to continue to do what he's doing. And they're going to need Tim Hardaway Jr., guys like that, Josh Green, to be hitting some shots, even if it's like a couple of threes, just to keep the defense honest. They're going to need those guys to play well on the wing as well. So it's on the role players, but I think it's bigger on Kyrie Irving because he's yet to look like the other superstar in this series.
Look, I've said a lot that Luka's hurt, and I do think he's banged up. Like I do think he's hurt, like most guys are. He's also making sure everybody knows it,
yeah,
like all the time. The other thing that's weird is like, look, he is playing 44 minutes a game, and he is taking a bunch of shots, and he is like, there's these times where we're like, oh man, what great defense from Luka. Okay, so is he healthy in those moments, and then not healthy on the offensive end? Like I don't know how to like figure this out. Because we're just kind of like, oh, well, Luka hasn't been as good, so it has to be the injury. And I don't know if that's the case, but look, for me, even if they get better from him offensively, that's going to mean that they're shifting to more of an offensive game, and that takes the Mavericks out of their success, which they have been this drag you down, gritty defensive squad, leave you wide open for shots that you inexplicably missed team. And that's like how they've gotten to this point in the playoffs where they have a chance to win the series and advance to the conference finals. For me, it doesn't honestly matter about Luka because Luka hasn't been good this entire series, and they've still gotten to this spot of 2-2. It's entirely about PJ Washington. PJ Washington shooting like 70% as a 32% three-point shooter. Like he's north of 45, 50% in this series. If PJ Washington goes back to just hitting 5 threes every game, then the Mavericks are going to win this series because that's such an outlier performance that messes with all of the kind of equations on this one. I think the Thunder ultimately are better in this series. I think they're the better team. And I think game 4 kind of showed you why, because the Mavericks had every reason to win that, and they couldn't close even against this young Thunder squad. But really, it's not about Luka. It's about PJ Washington. Jay's got a great point that Kyrie's got to step up. He's been phenomenal in this series, struggled in game 4. But for me, it's all about PJ Washington. If he can keep up as this all of a sudden third star for the Dallas Mavericks.
Who would have thought PJ Washington, the big X factor, 20 plus in the last 3 games, pushing 30 in the last 2. But, Matt, you did slip in there that you ultimately think the Thunder are better. Jay, it sounds like you're on the other side.
I'm definitely on the other side. It's just kind of funny saying that the Thunder showed they were the better team in game 4 where the Mavs shot 52% from the free throw line. And Luka missed a free throw as well to possibly take it to overtime. So you missed 11 free throws.
Not clutch, my man.
You missed 11 free throws, but lose by 4. And that shows that the Thunder are a better team. They were literally down for 95% of the game. But my best bet for today, I will take the Mavs in the first quarter, plus 1.5. They're 4-0 against the spread in the first quarter this series. So I expect that to keep it going. We see the Thunder sometimes kind of come out slow and kind of pick up steam as the game goes. So I'm going to ride with the trends in this one like Matt always does. And I think the Mavs come out here probably a little pissed off coming off that loss. They know that they should be up 3-1 in this series. I think that they have to come out and throw the first punch because we know that Thunder, they're a young team. They feed off their home crowd as well. You can't let them get up 5 or 10 to start this game and you're playing from behind. So I do think the Mavs come out here and throw the first punch. I'll take them in the first quarter, plus 1.5.
Not gonna lie, I was over here stirring the pot, throwing fuel on the fire, whatever cliche phrase you wanna use. in terms of asking who each of you like for that series, but you know, this is more money. This is what we do. We like to have you guys jawing at each other. All right. Thanks so much for joining Green Dot Daily.
Thanks, guys.
Anytime.
As far as the Celtics are concerned, they are favored to win the NBA title at -135 after defeating the Heat 4-1 in the first round and leading the Cavaliers 3-1 here in the second round. They're scoring over 107 points per game and allowing under 97 per game throughout this postseason. So our NBA contributor, Brian Fonseca, is with us now. And I think it's safe to say both of the teams that the Celtics have faced so far have been shorthanded. Can you confidently bet them to win the title?
I think you can bet them confidently to get to the finals, which you won't get a lot of value on anymore. But to win the championship, I need to know what's going on with Kristaps Porzingis. And also that's before you get to the issues of just this team generally, like how they are. Like Celtics fans, they're not dumb. They're many things according to some people, but they're not dumb. They know what excellent basketball looks like, and they know that this team makes their asses tight. Late in games, their offensive execution could be shaky. It's a little too many step back jumpers. It's a little too much indecisiveness. They kind of get themselves into situations that they could avoid, but they're so talented where it hasn't mattered much. And the Kristaps Porzingis thing is a big thing. So the calf strain. Kevin Durant strained his in 2019 in the playoffs. He came back 38 days later, or 33 days later, rather, and ruptured his Achilles. So you can't rush back from this injury. Giannis Antetokounmpo strained his calf before the playoffs. He did not come back for almost a month. He said that he was not close. And Kristaps Porzingis is looking at a timeline where we might not see him for the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think that if we're looking at a Celtics-Knicks matchup in the face, they're kind of going to need him at some point, especially if OG Anunoby's there. I still think they can win that series because the Knicks are so shorthanded. But Kristaps Porzingis is somebody that the Celtics are going to need to ultimately win the title. And game one of the NBA Finals is scheduled to be on June 1st. That is approximately 38 days from when Kristaps Porzingis injured his calf on April 29th. So you have to be very, very careful with this injury. And I don't think you can bet on the Celtics being a layup to do anything but get to the finals because of the injury.
And especially because it just seems like there are multiple teams in the West that are arguably better than the Celtics. And it's interesting because we sometimes overlook the Porzingis thing. Like we look at the Celtics and think, okay, they should be handling the Cavs easy. They shouldn't be dropping a game to the Heat. But I mean, Porzingis was the key addition to this team that has made the biggest difference from last season to this season. All right, the game tonight, not so much juice there considering all those Cavs injuries, but we do have a very tight series between the Mavs and Thunder. So what are you betting in that pivotal game 5?
So I like Kyrie Irving over 5.5 assists. Me and Joe Delera did not talk about this, but we both had the same play on our best bets file today. So I obviously felt better about that since Joe also took it. But Kyrie Irving's gone over in 3 straight, over 5.5 assists. And he's been very good as a playmaker in the playoffs. We saw this at times against the Clippers as well. And another key component of this is they need him more. Luka Doncic has not looked right at times, and the usage rate is down. It was 36 in the regular season, and we were all wondering, hey, if they continue to play heliocentric Luka Doncic style basketball, are they going to get far in the playoffs? Well, they've gotten pretty far so far, and his usage has dropped to 28 in this series, 32 in the playoffs in general. So Luka Doncic is not dominating the ball as much, and it's been spread around a little bit. We've seen PJ Washington do some things, but part of that is Kyrie Irving and his playmaking, and I think that's going to be a recipe for success for them because I actually think the Mavericks could win this game, but I think Kyrie Irving needs to continue moving the ball as he has been.
Kyrie has had such an interesting role throughout this series. He's kind of like bending according to whatever Luka is doing, and I think at some point he's going to have to make a recognition if Luka doesn't have either the scoring or the facilitating ability to step up and take over. So I really like this. Brian Fonseca, enjoy the game tonight.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Over to baseball. Check out the preseason odds for Astros futures compared to what they are now with the team sitting at 17-25. World Series and division odds have gotten considerably longer, and to make the postseason, -108 as opposed to a whopping -500. As we bring in our MLB expert, Sean Zerillo, are the Astros, worth betting right now, considering they have won 3 straight and 5 of their last 6?
Yeah, it's probably now or never. And looking at the projections out there, they've been a value team all along, but it does seem like at this point, this is when the trend line would go up for them. So looking around the projection market, between 35 to 40% to win the division, that is roughly implied odds between +180 and +150, and you can get +200 or better on them right now to win the AL West. And again, for the playoffs, sitting around 52 to 59% between ATC per Fangraphs and 59%, the higher projection from Bakota. You can get them, as you mentioned, around -110 at pick 'em price to make the playoffs. So if you trust the more optimistic projections of 40% to win the division, 59% to make the playoffs, absolutely can justify value on Houston. That said, I just don't love the direction this organization has been trending in recent years, moving away from analytics, moving more towards scouting, and just a little bit dysfunctional, from the top down, getting rid of multiple GMs now. Obviously, the first one was not their choice with the garbage can scandal and Jeff Luhnow getting suspended from baseball, but the whole James Click situation with their owner there, him exiting ultimately, and then Jeff Bagwell being brought in as an advisor, signing Jose Abreu, signing Josh Hader, just seemed like odd moves. That said, they have Chas McCormick returning from the IL soon. They do have a number of pitchers, Luis Garcia, Lance McCullers, who may come back from the IL for them at some point. Alex Bregman is really struggling this year. He's trying out a new swing, but his place discipline seems okay. So all of that said, I do think the Astros are at the end of their championship run, but there is still an opportunity for them to come out of the West, given the fact that the Rangers are still really banged up and their offense is a lot better than what the Mariners offer. So just to reiterate, it is probably now or never on the Astros futures. I'm leaning towards never, but you can justify it based on the math.
Okay, leaning toward never. That tells me something about your confidence in this, but good to know that there is at least a little bit of value, which is somewhat surprising given just the way that the Astros started this season.
Yeah.
Looking at today's slate, though, let's get into your picks. What stood out to you?
The Arizona Diamondbacks at -140. I've bet on Brandon Pfaadt in most of his starts this season, and the market has generally moved with me. The results haven't always been there, but looking at the underlying indicators, the projections, the pitch modeling metrics for Brandon Pfaadt, he essentially projects as a number 2 starter right now. And this is a guy who had a lot of pedigree, led the minor leagues in strikeouts 2 years ago, pitched very well in the postseason last year, seemed to find his form come playoff time, but leads baseball with a 74% first pitch strike rate. His expected indicators are in the low to mid 3s at 3.3 expected ERA, 367 expected FIP, and a 106 pitching plus. Is above average pitch modeling metrics, both in terms of his stuff plus and his location ratings. You look on the other side of the matchup, Andrew Abbott, projections in the mid to high 4s, pitch modeling metrics, 93 stuff plus, 98 pitching plus. He's a very odd pitcher to project because he's always overperformed relative to his underlying indicators. Even in his minor league career, he seems to be able to suppress and limit hard contact. But that said, even if I upgrade Andrew Abbott relative to those preseason projections, relative to his pitch modeling metrics, I still view about a tier between Pfaadt and where I'd rank Andrew Abbott. I have Pfaadt closer to the number 2 starters, Andrew Abbott closer to a league average starter, if not even slightly below average. So projected Arizona closer to -160 in this matchup, like them up to about -150.
Very nice. Diamondbacks coming off a loss to the Reds can still take the series after winning that first game. Now you like a total for tonight as well.
Yeah, the Giants and Dodgers over 7.5 tonight. Both of the games in the series have already gone over, taking this one to go over 2. Logan Webb starting for the Giants tonight, and his metrics have been trending down. 18.6% strikeout minus walk rate for his career. He's sitting at 12.4% this season. His velocity is down slightly. His strikeout minus walk rate is the second lowest mark of his career. His strikeout rate is at the lowest rate of his career, and he's also giving up a career high 50% hard hit rate. So everything trending sort of in negative directions for Logan Webb and still has that high ground ball rate, still tends to pitch really well at home. But I think if any team is going to take advantage of potentially declining stuff, potentially declining strikeout rate, it is going to be the Dodgers, who hit the ball hard and put a lot of balls into play. They've also seen him a number of times and have a lot of experience against him. They'll likely pitch Ryan Yarbrough for the bulk innings on the Dodgers side and then mix and match their relievers beyond that. But I projected this total at 8.4. The wind has been blowing out at Oracle Park all week. Seems like it's boosted the run environment ever so slightly. So I like this over up to 8 at -105. There's still some 7.5s out there. Not a huge difference, though, between 7.5 and 8, just because it's not an odd number. It's not one of the key numbers. So I'd rather take a plus money 8 than a juice 7.5 here. But yeah, anything over 7.5, 8 in this matchup. And I should also, just to go back to the Arizona matchup, I should just mention, their matchup stylistically against Cincinnati, they're just sort of a kryptonite team for the Reds. They throw out base stealers, they play good defense, and the Reds play very bad defense, and Arizona puts everything in play. They have the third lowest strikeout rate in baseball. They don't chase. So they're a team who puts the ball in play. They're going to make the Reds' bad defense do things in the field. And then on the other end, they throw out base runners, which is all Cincinnati tries to do, is steal bases. So yeah, just backing up for a second to that Arizona matchup. I just think stylistically, beyond even the projections, it's a very difficult matchup for the Reds to go up against.
Well, we appreciate you adding the context. Certainly always expecting well-rounded insight from you, Sean Zerillo. Thank you for joining Green Dot Daily.
Thank you for having me.
Remember, any picks we give out here on the show, you can easily reference by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. That's going to do it for Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thank you for watching, and the show is back tomorrow with Brendan Glasheen at 3 Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel.